What's up, profitable stylists? Here we go, another week. We are back. Bernard was away last week. He was doing some stuff, and we're gonna find out all the exciting things that he was doing. What's up, Bernard? Morning.
Did I give you the impression that it was exciting?
It was yeah, yes. I was very, very excited I wasn't excited that we skipped a week, but I was excited for the reasons why we skipped a week. He was learning some
Yeah.
stuff.
So I'm gonna give a little hint. Oh god, the title's probably gonna give a big hint when people come in. But do you know the official name for one of these things?
The block?
Yes, you know it's called a block. I mean, most hairdressers don't know.
I thought
This
it
is
was a
what you
trick
see.
question.
A canvas block. It's not square at all. And I think of something rectangular, square, and I remember the very first class I ever went to learn hair replacement. They got mad because I put the hair system on it backwards, and I was like, "Well, where is the face? There's no face on this thing." But you've got to know that the lines on here go front to back, and then if I turn it sideways, you can kind of tell this is the back of the head because it curves in a little bit more, and that's supposed to be the front of the head. So when you put a hair system on it or a wig, you're supposed to put it on where the front is over here so it fits a little bit better. And that's crazy how something a little embarrassing in a class will just stick in your head forever.
Mm.
And that's kind of the beginning of, actually, that was kind of in the middle of my hair replacement journey because I'd been using those things for years, didn't really realize there was a front. I just thought, pretty freaking round, just
Oh.
throw it on there. But I guess what Eddie's kind of starting with is I am still continuing to learn. I went to a hair show, a hair replacement show in San Diego, California, and I've been in the hair replacement business for 30 years, and I had never been to this particular show. It's been around a long time. So I buy hair from different vendors, and a vendor will put on a hair show. I guess they call it more like a little business conference or symposium, kind of like Paul Mitchell will do just for the Paul Mitchell customers. Not a hair show where you've got Redken, Paul Mitchell, all the different companies there. This is I've always only been to one where that company is promoting their product, one cutting class, one bonding class. But this is the first time I went to it's called the American Hair Loss Council. And for you guys out there that do hair replacement, you're going to want to get to it next year. It's going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't go as a vendor. I just went as, let me just see if I sell some hair products. Maybe I want to go there, but let me just kind of go see the lay of the land, scope it out a little. And I thought I wouldn't be taught anything. You ever go through this thing in your life where you got to go from a little more humble to a little less humble. You get a little high on yourself, like I'm really good, and you start thinking, like I'm really good at stuff, and then somebody knocks you down, and you're like, I'm an ass. I need to tone it back a little. I need to be nicer. Why am I being so arrogant? And so I noticed through my life that'll happen. And I guess I wish I could remember the exact name of the book. Maybe RJ will figure it out, put it in the description. I was in an airport one time. I'm a hairdresser, so I got all kind of stories, and I go all on tangents. But one of the biggest changes in my life was I read a book that was it was by Connie Podesta, and it was basically, I don't remember the exact title, but this is how I remember it: how to get rich selling to women. And I thought seemed a little like wrong at first, like it felt a little manipulative, but it was basically how men and women think differently about buying and
Okay.
selling. And it was really a very humbling book for me. And so that was one of the big humblers in my life. And going to the show in San Diego was also, because I got to be honest, I've been traveling the country teaching hair replacement classes for a couple of years now. Came out with my own online class, and people are raving about how great it is, better than any other hair replacement class they ever taken. So I'm starting to feel like I'm the man. I'm the best there is out there in the country, maybe in the world, maybe. I'm the best. And then I go to this class in San Diego a few weeks ago, and you know, I saw quite a few things I'd never seen before, I had never done before. And then when these people say they've been doing it for 20 or 25 years, I'm thinking, oh my God, these aren't even new techniques. I've been doing this 30 years. there's still some things that have been around a very long time, and I've never seen them. I've never learned them. I haven't been to enough shows. I haven't got enough education. Maybe I started teaching too much and not learning enough. I need a better balance, And so I was a little humbled by this show. I was like, wow, it was more exciting. It was more fun. And one person there said, "You're that guy from YouTube." That was kind of cool too. At the breakfast line, she's across on the other side. She's going through. She's like, "You look familiar."
You look familiar. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I was like, "I don't know. I teach a lot of classes, travel the country, maybe a replacement class." She's like, "It's you too." I was like, "Oh, now I feel famous." One person. But this is a kind of smaller show that most hairdressers don't know about. Most hairdressers know about Premiere, Orlando, the big show in Chicago, New York. There's a few in Vegas, and most the hair replacement field doesn't really have many hair shows. There's one that you have to pay a lot of money monthly to be a part of the organization, and then you are the only person that can go from your territory. And I mean, they try to make it an elite group, so there's very few people there. But this one, they call it the AHLC, American Hair Loss Council, and you have to be doing hair replacement. You have to prove it by having it listed on your website or some marketing somewhere, and they check that before you can go because they don't want inexperienced hairdressers showing up there for just pure education. But there was a lot there that didn't know much because I'd been traveling the country with Hair Skiing over the last couple of years and doing their education. So there was about 8 or 10 people there I knew from meeting around the country teaching hair replacement, who are popping up in their own little salon, trying to do a higher end service, which hence the term profitable stylist. I've made a lot of money in this hair business, and hair replacement and hair extensions are kind of those two top through the years. One was a little bigger than the other in my life, And
so this is an application you got to fill out.
So, I got to double check exactly how. It was a little confusing going in. There's a few different levels. There's vendors, and it was very fascinating. As a vendor, I wasn't a vendor, but if you're a vendor and you have a booth there, it's really weird. I talked about this room like a room of pit bulls on leashes that couldn't get to each other, because these are all each booth. You go to a hair show, there's a lot of different stuff there.
Sure.
And the person next to you might not be selling the same thing as you. But at this show, everybody's selling a similar product. They're all selling hair replacement. Most of them are selling men and women, some just men's hair, some just women's hair. Like one extension company and 2 companies that just sell the tapes and adhesives to make hair stay on really good. A couple of them dabble into wigs, but not all of them. But almost all of them sell bonded on hair systems for men and women. So they're all wanting everybody there to just buy from them. So that's why I say it's like they're all competing. Like they're all like, get away from that. Come over to me, And they're very nice about it. And they're trying to be friendly. But basically, it's an interesting show because the vendors are being polite to each other. But the rules say they can't even talk to each other. Isn't that a little weird for a hair show?
Because at our hair shows, you're usually whoever's the booth next to you. You're like, hey, what's going on? What's up? How loud are you going to be? Oh, when do you go on stage? And we'll just kind of try to, bricklay our stage schedules so we're not over screaming on each other. Right.
And so they have these breakout rooms. The organization that puts this together, it's fairly small. There's only a few hundred people, as opposed to a hair show where there's thousands, maybe 40 or 50 or 80,000, depending on what show you go to. So this was just a few hundred, and I'd never been before, so I didn't know what to expect. And they have these breakout rooms, and there's a board that puts this show together. It's a nonprofit, so that's kind of cool.
Okay.
So the whole fact that it's nonprofit compared to a hair show, which is all for profit, it's run a little differently, and they really are trying to help the hairdresser do better in the hair replacement field. So they're trying to bring things in that we filled out in forms at I didn't go to the last show, but people filled out at the last show saying what they liked, what they didn't like, what they would change about the show. So they're always trying to grow so that the participant like me this year can learn more. So a lot of people were saying they didn't know about there's custom orders and there's stock orders. So people didn't know how to do custom ordering. They didn't know how to read the coloring well. So they did that in the very beginning. So the board members are the owners of some of the largest hair replacement studios in the country. And so they don't care about the competition. They're not selling hair. So they're doing this. This is what was fascinating. They're doing their little breakout class, and it would be 3 at the same time for a couple of hours, like 2 before lunch, 2 after lunch, over 2 or 3 days.
Oh,
So
wow.
so you had to choose between 3 at 9 o'clock, and then at 11 I had to choose between another 3. And so there was no way to go to every class in the 3 days that I was there. And so I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I kind of have to go back next year because I want to see some of those things. I hope they come back. So you have to pick the things you think are going to benefit you.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was fascinating. There's a showroom floor, but then there's the breakout rooms, and there's 3 going on all the time. And so you can go into one and say, oh, this isn't exactly what I want, and try to pop in another real quick, but you missed the beginning. But the neat thing is the guys that are running the rooms are not working for the sales companies, the hair companies. So they own hair replacement studios, super successful, and buy from multiple vendors that are possibly at this show. So while they're working, they'll say, my favorite hair is from this particular vendor. And you wonder, did that vendor pay you to say that? Or is it really your favorite hair?
Oh, because they're just focusing on the education of what they're doing in that room.
Right.
It's not the hair that they're using. It's just the technique that they're displaying or showing and teaching.
Right. And they usually don't care what the vendors think. They are not paid by the vendors. I'm just kind of thinking the vendors should be paid.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you got a whole room set up and you're trying to teach, so then they're just sharing, they're passing along that knowledge. That's what they're doing in those rooms.
So they're literally taking an old hair system off of a guy's head and clean up his head, put a new one on, make a mold of his head before they put it on, cut it in. They're sharing, hey, this is where I like to get my hair. This company has the best hair right now.
That is so cool.
They're just, and one other guy might say, he'll say, well, while he's doing it, he might say, what do you think, Richard? And he's like, well, I like their hair, but I like so-and-so is just a little bit better if I'm doing short hair. If I'm doing a woman's hair, I like this company better. Wow. And it's like, that's knowledge I didn't have because I'm not as big as them. We do about 100 hair replacement customers. These guys have, in the 700,000-800,000 customer range. So Huge studios, 6-8 technicians where I got 4 rooms. Most of them have 8 to 12 rooms, and I don't even keep my 4 rooms completely busy. I could probably do it with 2 rooms with the customers we have, but they are way bigger, way more experienced, older than me. So they have more years of experience too. So they're in there teaching, I like hair from this company, tape from this company, liquid adhesive from this company. I just buy this, and this on Amazon. And I'm thinking like a regular hair show. I keep thinking, people are asking, where do you buy that? Where do you get that? And they're like, oh, we just get this on Amazon. I'm like, well, that proves they're not getting paid for this class. They don't care where I buy from. They're just educating because it truly is a nonprofit. This is what makes it so refreshing. It's like they are not trying to make money. They are not trying to sell you on something. There was a lady and 2 guys that were teaching the very first class I went to. On the first day, there was just 2 or 3 classes with no competition. So there was just one class, everybody's at it, because some people come a little late on the first day. So the first day is a little looser, but they start with a little foundation for the newbies. And they said, how many people in here know how to fill out a custom order form? Or let's do it this way. Who does not know how? And there must have been 200 people in this room. And I would say at least 80 or 90 people raised up their hand that they did not know how to fill out a custom order form. To me, that was an indication of a change in the hair replacement industry. A lot of new hairdressers are getting into hair replacement because I had never seen that many not know how that have listed on their website that they do hair replacement. So it also means that a lot of people are doing stock hair systems, learning how to customize them, learning how to make pre-made hair systems work on somebody's head. And if they get somebody with extra curly hair, red hair, larger area, those are the reasons you really need customs these days, then they wouldn't even know how to do it just yet. So she said, well, let's start off with how to read the coloring and how to fill out a custom order form. So right in the beginning, I thought, yep, this is going to be super boring. I'm not going to learn anything at this show. I already know all this stuff. And then they started doing a guy's hair. And they're making a mold out of this product. It's basically like I use these plaster Paris strips, wet them, put them on the head over saran wrap that's already got a pattern drawn out. It dries like an old-fashioned cast mold, take it off, and that's how we do a custom order. Well, they're laying these strips on there that are more like the more modern cast when you break your arm that looks like a fiberglass cast.
Oh.
And I was like, wow, that looks so much neater and easier to do. Where do you get that? And they said, oh, we just order them on Amazon.
What the hell?
Okay. So we're not making some company rich.
That
we're
blows my mind.
I know. And it was like, okay, they really just want to help. And one of the most interesting products I learned about that they all were using was Cavion. You ever heard of Cavion?
What is this? Cavion?
I got a bottle on my desk. Let me grab it.
Yeah, sure. This is what's so exciting is the fact that no matter what you think you know and how much you're teaching, there's always something else happening. More.
Right. And they come in little bottles and they're by 3M and you just get them off of Amazon. And I was like, never heard of Cavion before. I was like, what is Cavion? They would use it to hold the hair down. It says a no-sting barrier film, and it protects damaged or intact skin from body fluids, adhesives. So basically, they use this on preemie babies and use it on arms when they're going to be taping the IV down to help protect the skin. So it'll stick to the skin.
That's different from the liquid Band-Aid stuff? Like when you cut yourself with your shears?
It is. It's like a high-end, hypoallergenic, super stays in place like a liquid Band-Aid, only it's like when it dries really, really hard and stiff and protects the skin in a way that you can now put tapes on and it won't peel off, whereas the liquid Band-Aid doesn't stick as well as this.
Okay.
This stuff is very little bottle. I don't know if you can see it. It's not even as big as my
it
thing.
looks really little.
And it's like $13 or $14 for this on Amazon where things are cheap. So, and it doesn't go far, 2 or 3 customers and it's gone. So it's an expensive product. But what they do is they take a lady who has real thin hair, they lay the hair down and they spray a little bit of Cavion on and blow dry it down. And you know how we did the hairspray segment recently?
Yeah.
It literally holds the hair down flat and harder than any hard hole hairspray I've ever used.
Really?
So then they can do what they call a long hair bond, a no shave technique. Now it's not fast and easy. I don't know. I'm kind of actually testing it because the next part of this is I went from there. I met a girl, went to her salon last week to learn more about this, but it's a long hair bond. So when a girl has finer, thinner hair, in my opinion, a technique that works a little better is to literally shave that hair off the top of the head and bond a hairpiece in that area.
Right.
They usually cover their head with a wig, a turban, something, a hat. They don't. If they're to the point where they don't show that part of their head anymore, then shaving is the best answer. But some ladies are still showing that, maybe teasing, trying to style it in a way where you don't see the thinness, and so they're not ready to shave. So then what we sell and do in our salon and sell to the country is a beaded topper, a no-shave technique that goes on in like 15 or 20 minutes. And that's why I was at the hair show, because I want to present this at the hair show next year in Charlotte. So you're going to have to be up there with me on that stage. So we need to get that date nailed down and make sure y'all are off, because last year it was the same weekend as the Chicago show. And that's why Darren couldn't go, because I had invited him to this at first just to come scope it out with me. So I'm thinking, all right, I got the beaded topper. That's a no-shave technique, and I love it, and it works really good. But it's got a tiny bit of movement, which some people like. So the people that are shaved down and are used to a really tight fit, the long hair bond, although it's a longer process and a longer cleanup maintenance process, it's a tighter feel. So if you want a second offer, you spray this on to make that head hard like a helmet. And then you can lay a hair system on there and draw where it goes and literally paint this clear adhesive, either silicone or acrylic based, right on top of the hair without the hair moving and getting all messy. You can paint adhesive right on top of the hair because it's hard like a helmet and it doesn't work like a conditioner or a barrier that makes the adhesive come off. And the they showed some techniques where you can push the adhesive through the hair down to the scalp. You do this finger roll to get it in close. And then the cleanup involved a lot of Dawn dishwashing detergent and a knit comb and a lot of massaging. And so it was like a lot of massaging and cleaning. And so the process took a lot of time. And it's a very old technique that most people have quit doing. But a particular girl there, Shanna Mall from Austin, Texas, she does a long hair bond for Cesar Ragazzi and for a bunch of other companies, John Renobe being one of them. And she was the one doing the class. So I got to know her and we talked a little bit. And she's like, hey, I just sent a customer to your studio who moved to your area to go to college, like Tulane or something. The girl plays volleyball, moved to my area. She saw my badge and said, I think I sent her. And I looked it up. She did. She sent a customer to us and she remembers.
That's very cool.
Really cool. Yeah. So as we're talking, I said, I'd like to come. I don't know if I asked first or she asked, but she's like, you ought to come to my salon. I was like, sure. So my wife and one of my stylists, we just went last week to Austin, spent a couple of days in her studio, and it's all she does is long hair bonds and does it extremely successfully. She's got, God, I can't remember exactly, 3 or 4 private rooms. She sells trichology products. She does some hair growth treatments with laser and a few other interesting, weird looking cameras that she takes pictures of their scalp and keeps track of their hair growth if it gets better. And so she's totally built a business around long hair bond. She is totally against shaving or cutting the hair off on top. Matter of fact, one of the clients there, she said, I'm getting so thin, Shanna. Why don't you just shave that little bit of hair off? And I'm like, that's what I'm saying. And she's like, no, Miss So-and-so, there's no reason to take that hair off the top of your head. I'm thinking it'll go quicker. The cleanup would be quicker because you wouldn't have to comb all that goo out of her hair later. But she says, no, I love the integrity of keeping somebody's hair. I thought, well, you got to give her that. She's got a mission and she's got this idea of what's good for the hair and she's sticking with it. She does not want to shave people's heads. And I said, well, you know, on my side, shaving a head doesn't damage anything. But in some cases, my argument would be it could be more comfortable. It's faster. Some customers want to get in and out quicker, and they don't mind if you shave it. So if you get to the point where you got so little hair, if you just shave the area, then you can bond to the short hairs. And then when they come back in and you remove it, there's just that much hair to clean the goo or the glue out of when it's on 4 or 5 weeks. But on hers, it's long hair sometimes.
Sure.
And it takes a lot of remover solution, a comb, Dawn. She squirts a lot of Dawn on there, massages it in, and then even uses like a knit comb. It's a teeny tiny comb, you know, to get like if somebody had lice and they're trying to get the nits out of their hair, where the bristles are so close together. She's using that to get the goo, the glue, and the removal solution out of the hair. And I mean, it takes about 2 hours. It's not terrible. And so her hairdressers, she said, I don't overwork my hairdressers. They do 4 clients a day. 2 before lunch, 2 after.
Wow.
So it's like 2, 6, 8. And they don't stress. They make good money. She pays hourly, very good money hourly. And they get bonuses based on productivity each quarter. So, you know, she runs her business completely different than the average salon. So I was fascinated by that too. So, you know, I mean, going to this show, I was just like, where all these techniques I learned and how to make here's one to make a mold of the head. You got any questions before I go on? I'm kind of excited.
I have so many questions.
Well, go ahead, ask some, and then I'll talk about this other mold.
All right. So since we're down this rabbit hole on products, isn't it funny that Dawn dish soap, of all the dish soaps out there, that specific surfactant that is in Dawn dish soap is the one that we recognize as the only one that actually does something?
Do you think any of this other soaps work the same? Because my business partner's wife, she's a bit of a bargain shopper. So I'll notice like just on the other side of my computer, our little kitchen over here, we'll have palm olive often. Okay. And I'll wash my hands with it or the coffee cups. And I will feel that softens hands while you do the dishes. I don't know if you've ever seen the commercial, but I'll notice my hands are actually kind of soft. I don't want that on hair. I want the hair.
Right. No, that's exactly.
So
back
in my opinion, go ahead.
You got to help me remember. You're as old as I am.
You're
Was
thinking
it
about the oil spills?
the oil spills? What was that? The 80s, the later 80s, early 90s, something like that?
I'm not sure when, but right, like the Valdez or
Yeah,
Valdez
yeah,
in
yeah. So I
Alaska.
only remember seeing on the TV, and they had, what were they, like the ducks or
That's
whatever
right.
those, the
And that's what
birds.
I say.
And
They
they were
cleaned
using
up.
Dawn. Like they were only using Dawn was the only thing that would get the oil off the feathers.
And it does. And I won't even use the scented, the fragrance, the
No,
yellow
right.
ones, the new electric blue formula. No, it's just the old fashioned. There was another write up in an article one time in a newspaper years ago when people read newspapers. They had a big, California is always ahead of. I don't know if they're ahead or behind, but they're always different than everybody else with trying to stop the bad stuff, the cancer, the whatever. And so there was a big animal fat spill on the interstate and it stopped traffic. They got like
Okay.
10, 12 lanes across sometimes. So it really messed up traffic for hours. And some official put a call in to Procter and Gamble and said, we need you to make something completely organic to clean this animal fat spill up without hurt. They don't want anything going down the drains that's going to hurt the environment.
Okay.
They're very, very conscious of that. So they said, we already have it and we'll donate it. It's Dawn. Dawn dishwashing detergent will cut the grease and oil off the interstate. So they sent 55-gallon drums
Holy cow.
and used like fire engine hoses, and it cut the grease and pushed it off the road, and they were able to get back to traffic. So,
Dude,
I mean,
with all the products that we're promoting today, we need we need commercials. We need sponsorships.
Caveat. I should go Dawn. Right. Right. And so ever since the animal fat spill way back then and the ducks getting clean, you saw it on the commercials, we started using it on hair for extensions years ago. And sure, some people want to use clarifying shampoos from all the different companies. Shampoo 3 by Paul Mitchell was a great shampoo back in the day when I carried Paul Mitchell. But still, you shampooed twice with Dawn. You got to rinse really well because it stays pretty sudsy.
Oh,
but when
yeah.
you're done, you literally feel it's like squeaky.
Oh, squeaky clean.
Squeaky clean. You run your fingers through the hair and it like literally sticks to the hair and it literally makes a squeaking sound. Nothing else has ever cleaned hair that well for me. So I had never used as much Dawn as Shanna used. She was in the class. She had no shampoo bowl. She was just using a mannequin head. She put a hair system on, and then she said, all right, now we're going to remove it. And so she starts using a removal solution. I think she was using Ultra Safe by by Pro Hair Labs. They're the ones that sell Ghost Bond, which is one of the
There
number
goes
one.
another one. Another link coming up. This description is going to be this long today.
Ghost
With all the
Bond
links.
is like one of the number one products in the country. They were not at the show. Who was at the show is Walker, who has Great White, which
I'm
would
familiar with Walker, yeah.
Great White might be a little better than Ghost Bond, actually. Just doesn't have the same recognition. Some of my stylists actually don't use Great White because it holds a little too well. One of them said. I said, what? That's never been a problem for me. I want the best hold possible. So they kind of balance it. So anyway, she was using not Ghost Bond, but their removal product called Ultra Safe. She was putting it on there. It's a bit of an oily substance, and she's massaging underneath there. She gets the hair system up. Now she's still got a ring of adhesive that she had put on top of the cavion, and she takes her Dawn bottle, and I got a water bottle. I hope it holds water. She puts it up, takes it upside down, and she squeezes the Dawn bottle and makes about 3 or 4 rings of Dawns.
Wow.
I was like, okay,
Wow.
I've never used that much Dawn on anything. She starts massaging it in, and that's when she used the wide tooth comb first. And she said, okay, so we got through all the tangles with the wide tooth comb. You think it's done and you would want to shampoo. But in my experience, if I shampoo now, it's still going to be all sticky and gooey, and we're going to have to start over. This is when the goo is broken up, but it's not out. And this is when the knit comb comes into place. And from the scalp, she puts that comb in there. When she pulls it out, there's like suds and soap and goo or glue or adhesive or whatever she used. And she does that through all the hair first. She said, so if you do this, so you can get it through all the strands of the hair. The other trick was all the hair that she had bonded into, she picked it all up. And the other hair that the client has from here down on the back, she laid all of this hair down on the back, put a towel around, clipped it in the front, and then a cape. So she tried to minimize the amount of dawn and goo and glue that would get in the rest of the hair down here, so it was less to clean out, so she didn't have to comb through all the hair all the way down through the nape. So little tips and tricks like that are saving it, because we've been taking 3 and 4 hours for the few long hair bonds we do. We've got it cut down to 2.5 hours now, just from the few tips and tricks from Shanna.
Cool. That is so cool.
So that was nice.
So then, as a stylist starting out, right? So I've shared in the past, you know, I remember my uncle, he used to wear a piece or a system. And, you know, now we have the extended wear topper. So that's been really fun to use and to recommend. So where is the jump from going from the extended wear? So I guess just from starting off with zero experience, would it be fair to say getting into the extended wear topper would be a good starting point just to get your hands started in it, and then moving into
the hairdresser, not the customer, right? Are you talking about the hairdresser or the client?
I guess no, the hairdresser as a hairdresser,
as a service,
or maybe is there a 2-part question there, like as from
maybe
the stylist
so,
side
but
and
I
the
just want to
client
make
side?
sure I like staying on the hairdresser route first. That's because I mean that's who I know. This is on YouTube and anybody and everybody can see it and watch it, but we mostly I think are speaking to hairdressers most of the time, the profitable stylist. But so finish that question with that in mind. When would be a what?
So like, I have prior experience with replacements. I haven't done them in a long time. I'm loving the extended wear, so I can easily jump back into replacement again. But let's just say I was a brand new stylist, no experience with replacement whatsoever. Would getting into the extended wear toppers be like a good starting point, and then going into full replacement? Or how where would that progression, how would somebody start?
That's a really good question. There is no guidelines out there. If anybody's watching this is going to be super valuable because, I just did all I could find to do through the years. Let me do this, let me do that, let me learn this. Where do you start? What hair show should I go to? That's a great question. So, it's all just my opinion, but I think that the teachable education that we have is a good place to start. I think hands-on live education is best, no matter what you're going to do.
You on that one, sure.
But if you want to save some money and get a feel for it and get a taste for it, I have teachable education where you can learn multiple things. But I think that if you're going to start with hair replacement on a person, the beaded topper would be the easiest, because you're going to have the teachable education that's going to show you how to do it. Some people are going to watch the education and try and still not be able to get it just from watching a video. A lot will, but it'll be enough because it's like, I don't know, 380, 400 and something, right around, give or take a little bit, $400 to get the kit and the education. So you get all the tools you need to practice topper, and you can actually get started. So then if you think, you know what, I don't know if I quite understand this, then you can go to your class in Chicago or mine in Louisiana.
Yeah, we have the hands-on classes, and
do a hands-on and spend a little bit more money. Not much more money, depending on what you want to learn. We're doing the 5 techniques class where we teach that plus a few of our extension techniques. And so I think that's the best place to get started. Now, some people are going to say, I just want to do men's hair replacement. I've got that on Teachable also. So somebody can do the Teachable education. That's a little more expensive because it's going to come with a kit. It's a $1,500 class.
But that's the full replacement system.
For a man, that's right.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Some people start there because $1,500 is not a lot of money for some hairdressers making good money, and they want to start on men instead of women because the beaded topper is going to be predominantly women.
Right.
So you're not going to put that on a man's head. It's a silicone base. It's got holes in it to pull hair through. You don't want to pull a man's hair through. They don't usually have enough. It doesn't work. They want a hairline that looks like that. And so you need to shave off their hair and put this skin-like membrane that has hair coming out of it. Looks like it's coming right out the scalp. And so you've got to I've tried it before where you leave their hair and then put one right behind it. the two different growth patterns don't match up, and you can see a definite line. So with a guy, you don't, like, if I were to put a hair system like a long hair bond over the top and put it on here, you see how it presses my hair down? It causes this dent right here.
Okay.
And so if I have hair coming out of this system here, I'm going to have a definite line of demarcation because I don't want to restrict the buoyancy of the hair. And that's been the trouble in our field, is people think that they need to leave some of this hair and go over the top, but it presses the hair down. If you shave it, the hair right under what you shave sticks up out off the head, which gives it that buoyancy and that lift to blend in with the hair coming out of the hair system also. So they both come up and out like that. And that took a long time for me to figure out, because in the beginning, I was putting hair systems down where it overlapped the client's hair a little bit, and then couldn't figure out why when I was cutting here, I'd always see a line.
You always got that line.
Pushing that top a little bit of hair down. I'm pushing that hair down, which pushes the hair down underneath it, all the way down the side. And so there was never going to be a blend on shorter styles unless you shave it and get it just right. So you get a kit, you get a hair system, you get the block, you get the holder, the adhesives, a practice hair system, all the education, and it's quite a lot. The kit itself cost us $800 to buy, to put out there, and then the education on top of that is the rest of that $700 because of the video and everything. So you can buy education only for about $700 or $800, I think, and figure it out and watch it and see if you wanted to get a kit, and then buy a kit later. But if you're going to do men, I'd say start with the $1,500 hair replacement. If you're going to do women, start with the beaded topper education. And then, of course, we've got some package deals where you can learn the extensions, the hair replacement, everything for discounts and deals too. So when I was in, I'm going to go back to something real quick.
Yeah.
When I was in San Diego, one company in the country, I think it's IHI, International Hair Goods Incorporated. Yeah, International Hair Goods Incorporated. I think they even have a new name now, but they're always changing their names through the years. So IHI has this round, hard plastic thing that holds this mat. And I don't know what this mat-looking thing is in there, but they put it in a crock pot to warm it up in some warm water, and then they take it out and they press it over the person's head, and it just forms over their head instead of using the fiberglass mold. It just forms over their head.
Oh.
Then they've got a Velcro strap that they put around the head here. After they pull it down, they have the client hold it, and then they put a Velcro strap around here, and then they cool it off. He had ice and a towel. I think he said in the actual salon they have an ice pack that was in the fridge or the freezer, and they put it on top. It cools it off, and it forms hard, the shape of their head, and then they just cut out below the line. I think they draw on it or something. And it's a fast, easy, a little more expensive than Saran Wrap and the stuff off of Amazon. But this one was more of a, I'm sure this company was excited. They're the only one that sells it that I know of. And so IHI probably got a whole bunch of orders.
There was another one. Add that to the list.
But that was really neat because I had some of these things I had heard of before, but didn't realize how to use them or never used them myself. Like I'd heard about that mold, but never, it's a little pricey to get into. And if you've never seen it done or experimented with it, how do you believe it's worth buying when the cast mold's working fine for me? So watching it, I was like, oh, wow, I don't need it yet. But if I start marketing and advertising hair replacement and I've got 2 or 3 consultations a week and I need to get through making molds faster, this would be worth the money.
Okay.
Because I think it was $8 or $10 per mold to buy the sheets plus all the equipment you have to buy. So it's not worth it to me just yet. And then the Cavion, if I'm going to do enough long hair bonding, that saved me a few hours. So there was a lot of little tips and tricks that I learned that was a lot of fun. And of course, we don't sell wigs. And so seeing the wigs from a few different companies, John Renault's employees, this was funny. They invited me out to dinner one of the nights. And one of the girls that's been my rep I've been talking to, when I get there, I meet her and they're like, oh, she goes, oh, hey, I don't know if I should say names on here. So anyway.
With a rep.
Yeah, she said, oh, hey, I'm your rep, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, hey. And I'm thinking, God, we did a live on Zoom once. And I know hairdressers, people in the hair field change their hair colors a lot, but she was a brunette for close to a year. All of a sudden, she's a blonde, at this thing. And I thought, okay, I didn't see that. I thought, yeah, you had brown hair. That's right. So it's a wig, but it's so freaking good looking. I mean, she had her hair going back. It was a real hairline.
Oh, wow.
And then we go to dinner that night. She doesn't have the wig on. So I'm asking the CEO, I said, so where is so? Did she not come with us tonight? And he points to her. She's straight across the table from me. He says, she's sitting right there. I said, oh, shh, don't tell her. I didn't. Oh, she had a wig on today? I didn't even realize it.
And that's how good the wig was. That's how natural it looked.
So they wear their wigs and they look so good. The next day she had a different color on. So now I'm a little wise to this. I'm like, so which one is my rep? It was crazy. That was like, okay. I thought I could pick them all out. I can't pick them all out. These are some good looking wigs. I was impressed.
That is, it really, I'm giddy right now. I'm like, I'm struggling to come up with words and things to say. I love learning new things. I get so excited when, like you were saying in the beginning, we think we know everything. We think we're there and we've arrived and all that good stuff. And then you see something or you hear about something, and just to be able to get excited. One of the things I say to Darren all the time when I'm teaching a class, when I have stylists in a class who are asking very intelligent questions, and when they already know, like you show them how to do something and then they just within like the first 2 or 3 times they're already got it down. In my mind, I'm like, crap, she's really good. She's doing it. She got it. She knows what's up. I still have 2 hours of the class. We're only 10 minutes in. I need to step up now and show her some more stuff to keep this thing going. And it becomes this mental chess game. And at the end of the class, I'll be sitting there. I'll be rubbing my head. Darren will come in and be like, so what did you learn? I'm like, Darren, this was awesome today, man. I really got a workout. I got a mental workout today. Like, it was cool. So it's so exciting to be able to learn stuff. Even if you think you know everything, you don't. It's really awesome.
Yeah, after a class, this is what I look like when I drive home. my smile muscles and my thinking and all the muscles of my face and head and trying to stay engaged and making sure I'm giving everything I can. When I drive home, I play no music. I make no phone calls. And I'm literally just staring at the road, relaxing my face, and it's just like, and it feels so good.
But it feels
so stupid.
I was teaching a class. So look, this was yesterday. We did a 3-hour class in the morning on smoothing, keratin smoothing. We did a 2-hour class on retailing. And then after that, we did a full hair extension certification class.
Wow.
So I ran like a nice 12-hour day yesterday with education, right?
Yeah.
I get to my mother-in-law's, she's like, are you just going to go home or are you going to come over real quick and see me? I'm like, I'll come over. She's like, you want a cup of tea? I'm like, you know what? Yes. And I sat at the kitchen table.
You needed coffee.
We'll buy you a coffee. I sat down at the table at like 9:30. Next thing I know, it's 11:30. I was sitting at that kitchen table for 2 hours, just zoned out. Felt so good. Feels so good, though.
I know. And you know what? I love teaching. I love passing on the knowledge to the next group. I mean, I wish that I could do it for free, but I still got bills to pay for also, So we do it pretty inexpensively, the best we can. But to me, I feel like you got to have that balance, right? So I do feel like I have arrived in some areas. I have, that's the tough balance because at one point I remember thinking, I can't teach. I don't know enough. And somebody helped me out with that and said, you always know more than somebody. And so you can always pass on what you already know to somebody who isn't there yet. So that's kind of where I started. And then as I started to get a little more confident, started to realize how many hairdressers aren't doing the things that they could do, just simple things. I mean, there are such little simple things, and that's what I enjoy. Teaching a hairdresser just how to do a little better service, a little bit more in each service, and then the very first most important thing a hairdresser can do to build their business is make that client's appointment their next appointment before they leave. I mean, I learned that in sales and business and building. You always want to set the next meeting at the present meeting. That's the only way the thing you're doing continues on. Otherwise, it's over. Your relationship with that person could possibly be over. You're just trusting that you made such an impression they're going to want to see you again. And that's a small percentage. So that's where it all started for me. Making more money was realizing I got to get this person back. Doesn't matter how good I am. Sure, if I'm real good, that it might happen, but get them back. And then that's just one of the first stepping stones of growth. And as I figured that out, that's what I started teaching. And then as I figured out hair replacement and extensions, I started to teach that. Then as I started to do more, I started to teach that. So I just feel like I want to help hairdressers charge a little more, get booked by rescheduling and charge a little more money, and maybe somewhere in there do a higher end service, a more expensive service, and work a little less hard for a little more money. I think we should wrap it up there.
And just keep learning. Just constantly keep learning. So that's our episode for this week, man. Hey, enjoy Thanksgiving with the family.
Yep.
All of you out there, enjoy, eat, pass out, wake up, and get back to work. Thank you, everybody.
What?
We'll catch y'all next time.